Well, everyone, looks like the PTU just went live to all backers. Well, as far as live as PTU can be. And I'm just sitting out here, just spawned in. There's been a lot of 30Ks on there. I don't know when this video is going to come out. Maybe tomorrow, maybe whatnot. It's Sunday night, about 10 p.m. my time. I'm just admiring the view because I don't know how close I'm going to get to the airport before the thing 30Ks on me. But you know, it's a lot of people downloading. There's a lot of people jumping in. But now we've got a discussion, I think, if we haven't already done it on the Blastcast, about the new gimbal systems, and we also had the plan on the flight panel. Actually, we kind of augmented that a little bit. A good friend of the channel, Lex Talionis, has some players who are new to Star Citizen that are going to be joining us in a first impressions, as well as impressions for people who have been playing the game, following the development for a long time. So I think that would be a very healthy blend. And these people are sim players. They obviously are into DCS and things like that. So I think it'd be a worthwhile point of view to have them speak their mind, you know, and kind of come out there and give their 2 cents about how they feel about things. A refreshing one at that, because one of the things that Star Citizen needs to do to thrive, not just survive, is to capture the interest of people for the first time and keep that interest. Now, frame rates here on Area 18 are much better. You see, they're still like 30 something in that area for me, but my computer's, you know, coming up on 3.5 years old, so still, that's not too bad. And as Chris talked about in the Reverse the Verse, that the big bottleneck right now is server-side OCS, which is great that he said that, because I've been saying that on shows for a while now. And I hope that that's the next big push for 3.6, because one of the things that happens with the servers, with the 30Ks, is that, you know, the server's trying to handle all the data across the entire Stanton system at once. And if the server was able to mesh and break down into sections, let's say Area 18 crashes out for whatever reason, and you're not on that server, well, you're not going to get that 30K, I don't believe. And it's not going to affect you. It'll affect a much smaller amount of players. So that's really the next big thing. And also, as well, if you're just out in the middle of space, middle of nowhere, with just you and a couple friends, and the server only has to handle like that station that you're at and the NPCs there, I think you'll see the NPCs moving better, less jittery. I think you'll see just so much stuff working better across the board, and better frame rates and everything. So this has been interesting to watch this develop through the Evocati process and whatnot, and I have a lot of thoughts on the flight model. Obviously, I'm going to get into that later. I don't want to dig into that now. I want more people to experience, you know, everything for themselves. Get some time to get familiar with it, because it is a more complex base flight model. I think David Coulson has done a remarkable job. Now, what we're looking at here is values, things that have to be tuned in, whether it's how rotations work, how acceleration, the speed of accelerations, you know, like the spooling up of the engines and whatnot, things like that that will dial it in, of, you know, projectile velocities, how the new gimbal systems work. And, well, let's face it, dumping IM, because it's garbage, and it doesn't make sense to even keep it anymore, because we've got a system now that is accessible for everybody, and there's no reason to keep around one that's only available on one mode and one controller. That's just not good for balancing. It never has been, never will be. But I'm really impressed with the architecture that you find in Area 18 and on this planet in general. Does it look exactly like what they displayed in the initial, you know, the preview at the CitizenCon or whatnot, or maybe it was a different convention? But no. But in a lot of ways, I think it's better. And of course, some of that will be dialed in and changed. Just like all the other planets, there's been revisions and things done to it over time, and that's largely due to textures and stuff getting better, and them coming up with better techniques. So you'll probably see physical attributes of the planet, including lighting and things like that, evolve as time goes by. This is literally Tier 0 implementation, but I mean, I'm using track IR today because it's a little bit easier to look around sometimes, but that's gorgeous. And it needs tweaks and things, but that's awesome. And one of the greatest things on it that talked about in Reverse the Verse was that on top of most of these buildings, there's landing pads. And with their procedural system, there'll be missions to go to the top of, go to these buildings, go inside these buildings, and also very possible to actually, and what Chris wants to do is that you can rent or buy a high-rise apartment, say like way up there on that building. And there'll even be windows where you can be up there, have your own place, look out over the city, leave your house, go out, get on your ship, and just fly off. That's pretty badass. On this planet alone, there's enough real estate, there's enough places to go, that every player, all the 2.5 million backers, could each have an apartment here, a unique building, and still have room to spare. That's massive. So the game has a monstrous potential of handling pretty much everybody on the planet. And where like Elite Dangerous kind of went wide, like they have like I think a trillion systems or something like that, which is overkill by a long shot. I'd rather have like the 300 systems or like the 100-some systems actually in the 300-some planets with that kind of depth on the individual planet. The room to move and to choose, and not only is it a matter of you could put everybody on this planet, but this planet may not be where everyone wants to live. So, but it's nice to know that you won't be fighting people over over territory and things like that. You'll just be picking some location or whatnot that you like and setting up shop there. Now there is a little bit of a slowdown when you pass through here a little bit, but I think it has something to do with, once again, back to the server side OCS when you fly over the spaces where you could walk before. But it's not too bad. And at least they fixed the problem with this particular tram where you would die when you would what was happening is that when you get further on down ahead of here, there was the no-fly zone, and your character would hit the no-fly zone while you're riding in this and get obliterated. And the only way to avoid it was to sit down in one of these chairs, I guess. But it was still kind of funny. You probably saw it in the last video. It's just like riding along and suddenly, blah, dead. But we'll start ramping up this series again. A lot of the people, like for example, Lightning and my brother, don't have the hard drive space to download a PTU version and a live version, so they're kind of waiting on the live version to jump in and do things at that end. Though it's very possible that I'll start bringing in some additional people that haven't been on the show before, because there's people on my Discord and even on Lex's Discord that may want to jump in to one of these shows and just play around and give some thoughts and just different perspectives, because I think that's important to get different voices out there, to have different people give their 2 cents. Now, they've given you, you're going to start in Olisar, of course, but a massive amount of different kinds of armor in there now. Olisar used to only have a couple, but now it's different armor colors, armor types. I mean, you can see there's quite a variety of little subtle differences and massive differences that you can have for customizing your armor. And I really like that. Now, hopefully someday they'll get it more refined to where you just pick the style of armor and then you can, choose the color like on a color wheel or whatever, and then run with that. say, hey, I want this and I want this color and this highlight color. Boom, done. But, you know, this will do for now. Well, it may do for always. It just depends on how well it's implemented. I think the color wheel will be simpler because then you have to scroll through less options. You just, you know, right now you scroll through like the armor and it's, you know, 10 color variants. It'd be easier if it was just, there's the armor, now then you choose your color on the next screen or whatever. At least it'd be easier on the UI, I would imagine. Now, normally I would want to fly dual sticks, but since I've got the VKB finally, I'm going to try to play this for a while just with the Warthog and the VKB. I was using, you know, my new slaw pedals. I guess that's right, the crash falls on that planet. But wow, that real quick. There, I don't care. Star Citizen right now, because yaw is still, I don't know, it's still more intensive than I think it should be. Like, well, as compared to games like DCS and things like that. My feet get irritated after a while pressing on the pedals. Now, in DCS it's not a problem because, you know, rudders are not used as frequently. They're used for particular maneuvers and whatnot, or countering wind and things like that when you're landing. But generally speaking, it's not something you apply all the time. In Star Citizen, you apply it all the time. So what I did is I just mapped the old twist on the gunfighter for that. And the tricky part as well, once again, is that because we're still not, from what I'm feeling, at the pitch and roll level that they talked about, because I find myself needing to yaw almost the same amount that I need to do pitch and roll. So it's a little bit, it's closer to center, but it's still kind of not focused at that point yet. I guess that's probably the only point I'm going to make about the flight when it comes to that, is that, you know, I feel like I'm using yaw way more than I should be. And that might have to do with pacing and other issues too. But there's a lot of stuff that has to get dialed in. And I would say, as I said repeatedly, it's going to take them 6 to 9 months to get all this stuff set up. There's just no way around it.
Your ship has been delivered to the following landing pad.
There we go. Because, you know, when you're trying to balance out, I think it's like, was it close to 100 flyable ships or something in that area, and 140 plus. You know, I wasn't even paying attention to what landing pad I was at. That's good. I think it was 6. I'll be able to see it on the yeah, 6. Thank goodness it tells that now. But as they get that dialed in, I think some ships move way too fast, and I think that G-forces need to be better respected, and I think that will dial in the flight model in a more natural sense. Like, just because a vehicle can do something doesn't mean that you would want to do that, at least without great personal risk to yourself. Maybe you consider pushing that envelope, but you know, I've been in the maneuvers where I've been, the G-force indicator says 21 Gs and stuff like that, and that's a bit much. That's more than a bit much. So they need to dial that in. And if they don't want to, you know, if it's a G-force, that's not quite what I wanted. That's the second door isn't opening. Okay, yeah, I thought that was just black space. It does that once in a while. You have to do it twice to open. It's really weird. But, you know, it's one of those things that either they can reduce the accelerations and pacing and whatnot to match the upper limits that they want. Like, here's your top-end ship, and it doesn't exceed this on its ability. Then you can dial in the rest from there. Or you can keep it where you want it, but still, if you exceed that, then if your character gets turned into a fruit smoothie inside the cockpit because you really overdid it, then, you know, that's on you. But it might be easier just to dial it all in. It's a little texture bleed through it. It doesn't draw in yet. It's kind of weird. Hope it don't fall through. So yeah, here's like one of the smaller hangar bays. They got of those ones you see in the truck stops, and I really like these. These are, I always felt it was kind of weird, like a Levski landing like an Avenger in that gigantic hangar. Hopefully they go back and throw a few of these in the Levski. I think that'd be nice. Alright. Now there's some weirdness. Once in a while you you end up T-posing in the cockpit. If that happens, I might do something fun with it in the video. We'll see. I tell you what, the Avenger, man. For solo play and for just doing whatever, you can't beat the Avenger for just getting out there and having the ability to do most things. And I was actually tempted today to maybe upgrade it to a 315p just for adding the exploration component on top, but I still have the freelancer DIR, so I can just do that. There's no need for me to get rid of the Avenger. This is a hard ship to consider getting rid of by any measure. This is, I consider, the best ship past the any starting ship that you can get in a lot of ways. It's an amazingly versatile ship. What are you doing? Why are you opening? What? Oh, now you're closing. Alright. So I've got my limiter all the way to 0, and I like to do it this way because the Mavs, for some reason, the Mavs don't scale they're very fast, but it's like when you pull it down, they're a little bit slower when you have the limiter all the way down. So let me go ahead and just get out of here a little bit. Raise my limiter up, get my landing gear up, and hope I don't hit the no-fly zone and explode. Lock these. Whoa! Whoa! Hey, stop that! Stop that! I do not. I had my character get out of the ship the other day, in the middle of Quantum Drive. Of course, being a Firefly fan, I said, "Well, here I am." You know, because what else can I do at that point? My ship, I'm sure, made it safely to destination, but me, not so much. Now, as you can see, they've added other areas. Not just Area 18, there are now other areas. Area 6, I think Area 11, Area 17. I don't know how, they're not fully fleshed out, but I think you'll have delivery missions and things that you can go there. But as you can see, does it look like what they did in the presentation? No. I think it looks better. Now from space, not so much. It needs better lighting effects and whatnot, but this looks massively denser than anything they presented. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it is a testament to their ingenuity. I mean, it's set like right there. It's like this place right next to me. You know that little place right there? I can go ahead and hit my landing gear and you'll see it'll give me the, once the landing gear come down, a little bit slow on there, but once again, we'll see you can land right, why are you opening? But I could land right here if I wanted to. And you'll see that, you know, a lot of these buildings, I don't think this one does. I don't see one. Let's take a closer look. A lot of these buildings have, okay, yeah, there's a door there. Now these doors on them, they don't work yet. Now they will work eventually, so you'll have either missions that go in there or you'll rent an apartment. You'll come out here, your ship will be out here waiting for you. Some of these buildings have and the atmospheric flight is not fully in. It's like elements of it, but it's still got more development to go. Okay, so you can still kind of just float, which is, you know, it is what it is, but it'll take time to dial all that in. So like here you have a couple different pads. Like, you know, you can probably get a larger ship up here. Probably nothing like a reclaimer, but unless you're really creative. I'm sorry, I don't know why it keeps opening. But yeah, I mean, you can imagine logging into the game, walking out onto the pad, coming out here, and leaving from this. You know, it's just awesome. It's absolutely awesome. And as you can see, almost every one of these buildings has these landing pads on it. And that's just nuts, because how many buildings do you think are in front of me right now? I mean, what, 4,000 or 5,000 in just in the general horizon, or maybe more than that. I can't even guess. It's ridiculous, and there's absolutely no reason to be fighting over territory in Star Citizen. As far as, like, personal housing choices, I can see like resource territory, but just dial up the speed a little bit here. So flying around decoupled here, it's pretty nice to use your. Good gravy! Why do you keep doing that? Suicidal pilot. But it's just an awesome detail. Now down the road, because you know how Star Citizen likes to innovate. I mean, it's a given. They love to innovate. I could see them going more out with the roads and things like that, and just really taking this to the next level. But they've got the good building blocks where they can, as technology improves, as people's computers improve or whatever. Are you going to close anytime today? I guess not. So anyway, as I fly around with my sunroof down, what is going on? I'm sure that they'll come up with. I'm sure they'll come up with all sorts of new features that, like, no one I think expected to see procedural planets in so soon. That was a shock. And it might just be the same situation where their engineers might go home and start working on something on that by themselves on the, on the weekends, and then suddenly come in one day and say, "Hey, look what I did!" And then suddenly we've got a new feature in the game. So at this point in time, considering the fact that they really want to push Squadron 42. It's really weird. Squadron 42 for a beta release, I guess, for lack of better words, by the first quarter of 2020. I don't think they would incorporate that until after Squadron 42 is out the door. I think it would be too much to revise again. I don't think they want it delayed anymore. They just may say, "Hey, the persistent universe is it's a constantly growing thing, so we're fine with adding that, down the road." 65 frames a second. That's really not bad. There's some freezing hiccups for the moment, but I mean, you gotta understand, I'm only running a 980 Ti. This computer was like top of the line when I got it to start the channel. And I said I'm saving up. I'm not saving up. I have saved up for another one. I could buy it flat out right now. All the parts, everything, whatever I need, I can get. The best of the best. I've already got that set aside. I'm just waiting for that official release date. There's no point in me. Plus, I feel that basically I can get the experience of now what would be a mid-tier player as far as computer power goes. Whoa, we don't want to do that. And kind of say, hey, if I only have a system that's 3.5 years old, and it runs it this well, then if you have something that's newer, then you should be fine. So I don't know how long this is going to be or what I'm going to keep out of all of it. So if it goes long and rambly, I do apologize. I'm just wanted to share with you this stuff, because this is the stuff that little bugs and stuff aside, because developing a game, this is the stuff that absolutely just I adore. This is unimaginably awesome. And it's breathtaking. It really is. So let me show you the planet from space. You may have already seen it, I don't know, but you'll see that there is a fidelity difference from what you saw in demonstration. But as Chris Roberts says, a lot of it was a text box. It wasn't like it was a skybox, if you will. Sorry, text box, because that it was a skybox. It was very limited in what you could. It was representing an idea, but overall that wasn't the end result. Now, obviously the clouds are kind of flat. They're very flat. In fact, I'd say they're very much 2D, but we don't have volumetric clouds in yet, so very much placeholder. I think the smog is a good choice from not only a standpoint of, well, a big city planet would probably be pretty smoggy, because having been through Houston a few times, I can tell you that wouldn't surprise me at all. But also, it's a good way of drawing out things and keeping the frame rates high. It's a pretty good trick overall. So I'm at full burn on everything, blasting out. Now, it blends out pretty well. I mean, it really does. Now, where I talk about some of the lighting gets flat, and I remember them talking about how they wanted they're working on the self-illumination of the planet. What I notice on the night side is that when you look at the lights down below, they're very square and blocky, and I guess there's arguments to be made because, yeah, it's a city, the buildings are square. But at the same time, it's maybe too blocky. Like, there should be, I feel like they're too hard, the edges are too hard. Like, it needs to be softer on the edges. And so yeah, you can kind of see over there, like, a little bit, like the lines and whatnot. They're a little, I think those edges are like a little too hard. Once again, that just maybe my perspective on that, but other than that. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump back into the normal view. Alright, so let me just back the throttle down and just spin it. Guess I'm decoupled anyway. Alright, so Area 17, Area 18, that's my trail going, that's kind of weird. Area 4, Area 6, obviously, it's weird, Area 20. So yeah, more places. You know, let's go to one I haven't been to before, which is, let's do 6. Why not? Now this is yeah, you'll see this is a weird thing they need to fix too. Because it does that when you try to do the short jumps on this planet. Not exactly sure what causes that. A little bit of a slideshow there for a moment. Nope, that's not the video, folks. That's what happens. I don't know why. I am not near a restricted area. Alright, let's just turn coupled back on. Now for the Warthog, I'm using it's a split throttle. So for the left side, I am using it as my limiter. And the right side is my actual throttle. Kind of hear the engine's not liking me pushing it so hard. Alright, let's back it down. Now what I'd like to see too in this limiter right here, if you notice the red line is the SCM. That's where the top of their, you know, your SCM speeds are. Anything past that, you know, you start dealing with engine heat buildup and things like that. What I would like to see is that SCM moved up to like the halfway point and then have a logarithmic curve past. I think someone made a post about that too, but that was definitely something I've talked about logarithmic curves a lot in this game. So yeah, you'd basically like bring up the SCM up to the 50% point, like somewhere around where I'm moving it about now. So it gives you more adjustability within the zone of combat, and then have the peak up to the peak set up at an increasing scale, because you really don't need a lot of fine-tuning when you're just trying to full throttle. And you could even move it up to, say, if you wanted to, like another, like maybe even here if you wanted to, or a little bit higher. But you don't really need to worry about really fine control at the top end because that's kind of the flat out. I think I need to recenter here. There we go. And it's an interesting thing too, because I have my right throttle set to a position, but I'm actually increasing my throttle by raising the limiter and dropping it. But I'm not. It's interesting because you can use one mechanic independently of the other, and it's just like right now, it's just more comfortable to the way my hand is positioned is to mess with the actual limiter to change the speed, and because it's proportionally based on where my forward throttle is. Back to the normal throttle control. But there's just an infinite amount of possibility for missions and things like that once they get this all online. So, and that's why I'm not too concerned about when they get the next systems online or how many systems, how quickly. Because there's enough real estate on this one planet that if they get the mission structure set out right, there's enough to do here for a lifetime. The rest is just gravy, you know? Okay, well, looks like we've got a player over here. Maybe we can visit someone and say hi. I don't think he landed officially. You know what? Let's do this all the way. How's that for a sunset? Alright, move this limiter all the way down so that way my maps aren't as... See, I'm holding the maps all the way down now with the limiter all the way down. See how smooth you can come down now? Pretty straightforward. How's that for a sandbox? And they're not even close to done yet, guys. I know people haven't played Star Citizen or are concerned about, my always concern has always been the flight model. And I have to admit that I feel a lot better after seeing some of the changes. That there were some hairy times, I won't deny. But seeing that there's some things coming online that I've spoken about that needed to happen. Are the values where they need to be? No. But they're moving in the right direction. And once again, I don't know if he's ever going to see this or not. But, Mr. Coulson, thank you for taking a lot of these things into consideration, and thank you for coming up with some innovative things. I can't express how much I actually love driving my Nox now. I used to avoid that thing like the plague because all it would do was flip over and explode, and I hated the Nox. Now I love it. Your ground vehicle system, the idea of using it like a jet ski, it works well. It obviously needs tweaking, but what doesn't at this point in time. But I've never played with the ground vehicles and like the bikes and had so much fun with them, and they feel good, and just very happy with what you've done. And I think you've managed to walk that line between hard sim and like it's a sim light. Let's put it that way. It's a sim light. It's exactly what I've been promoting, because I have DCS for full sim, and you can't have a full sim anyway, really, in a game based 900 years in the future with aliens and an energy weapon. I mean, come on, it's just not going to happen. You can't do that. Even Star Trek wouldn't be a full sim. It's a sim light. It's all guesses, and it's all just for fun. So anyway, guys, I'm just gonna leave it off here, but probably been a long video. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. Depends on how I edit it up. There will be a blast cast. We do want Lightning and I want to talk about the new gimbal system, and since he doesn't have access, what I'm planning on doing is playing a round or two and letting him see how it works. That way he can give his feedback as well. But well, he has access. He just doesn't have the hard drive space. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But this is a remarkable achievement, guys. It's amazing. They've delivered, and flight is going to take 6 to 9 months to dial in. Just be patient, talk about it, report it. It's not anything you find is that's a little too much of something. It's not the system that's been designed. It's the values being put in. So talk about those values. All right, everyone. Well, I'm going to stop rambling now, and we'll catch you in the next one.